Hey everyone, and welcome to the HR Vision podcast. I'm your host, Ivo, and every week I'm going to have a conversation that matters about HR. This week I have Matthew Bonnici with me. Welcome, Matthew. How's it going?
That's so good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Matthew is a Medior Technical Consultant, and he belongs to Edward's team. That was our guest last week on the podcast. He's involved with the development of all the solutions we provide as well, and we're going to peek into the technical side once more this week. So, Matthew, are you ready?
Yes, let's go.
Yeah, let's go for it. All right. With every guest, we start with a small introduction. So, if you can tell us a bit about yourself, what you've been doing, and who are you essentially?
Right. So, I'm Matthew Bonnici. I'm from Malta. I'm a very technical guy. So, that's my role here as well. I started with Dynamics products. Started with D12 and then moved to FO and car when it came along. But I branched off that very early and I focused more into integrations than just F&O itself. So integrations before CDS and Dataverse were a thing. We had the old SOAP interfaces in 2012, the new services in F&O and so on. And now that this Microsoft have been growing this, it's interesting to see what we're going to be working with in the next coming months.
Okay, all right. And you always worked with Microsoft's products, or did you have experience before with other products?
So I started with Microsoft products. Yes, as I said, I started with the old AX 2012 before it became finance and operations. Mm-hmm. But at some point, when I switched to Azure, Microsoft as well, at some point I had a brief 6-month period where I worked for gaming companies. So while I still used Microsoft products because it was still .NET and C# and Azure at the time, it was completely something that was totally Dynamics unrelated. So it was a good learning experience to do something outside of Dynamics and how it's handled in its own way.
No, that definitely I can imagine that. But your career, like your studies, were always around, I guess, IT, technical engineering, development.
I started as a software developer in my university course, and it's always been like that. So when I was young, I used to play these little video games, and they wouldn't always work, and I would try to fix them and say like, okay, so something's wrong with this, and I don't know what it is, but I want to fix it, so I need to know why. And then eventually, when I got good at fixing the broken stuff, then I started getting interested. Okay, this works really well. But now, why is that? Why does that work well? And it just kept going on and on like that. And then obviously I picked up programming. My uncle had the computer store, so I would visit there quite frequently. I was growing surrounded by these things, and then it just made sense.
No, that's cool. I can really understand that. That's fascinating. HR came into your life by chance. What happened?
So yes, it was a bit by chance. So and when I started working back at my previous company, I actually worked with FourVision products. So it was the HR Plus itself, the ISV that we have for Dynamics. Mm-hmm. And generally on most client projects I worked, it was always HR customizations, and there was some finance here and there, but it was mostly HR. So I wasn't really specializing into it, just always came that way, and then it stuck. And then when I came here, obviously, which is HR specialists, it helped me have to have this previous experience, but. No, I don't. It wasn't, something that I planned for. It just happened, and I went along with it.
Yeah, and you're happy? Do you think it's a nice, a nice area of business to be developing for, or what do you feel?
It is, because at the end of the day, you're working to build systems to be used by people to manage other people. So it makes you think. You're not just these information thing is not just numbers. These are people, and you have to build a system in such a way it makes it easier for the users and the people who are in the system as data to make their lives easier and to make it better for them at the end of the day. It keeps you like grounded. Like, this isn't just random numbers and data or money. It's people we're working with here. So it's a different kind of mindset.
That's a very good perspective to have. And I guess you can see the work having some impact on people. Indeed, it's not just you fix a problem, something it works, but actually this will have impact on and will translate into people lives in terms of business, right?
Yeah. So like something like working on skills management and something like that, like technically wise, it's a very simple thing to do, but you think about it, this will dictate someone's life choice. So, and their career prospects and everything. So it's something to, when working on it, it makes you think like this is something that will impact someone's life. That's something nice.
Yeah, definitely. I agree to that. So looking at your role right now at FourVision, you're a Medior Technical Consultant. What, if you can explain in broad terms, what do you do, and what gets you most excited about what you do?
So as I mentioned before, I'm an integration specialist, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So as I said, I quite enjoy a challenge. So usually when working with Dynamics, you're just working with its own data and everything. But when it comes to integrating with other systems which don't follow the same standard and concepts as Dynamics, then you have to think of how to make these things work together. And that is always, the after I branched from that around 2 years into my Dynamics studies, I always wanted to continue working on that. So most of my stuff here is still integrations. I mostly use Microsoft Azure to build integrations for customers between Dynamics and their current or new products that they're going to use. If they have some systems they want to keep and they want to integrate them into Dynamics. And with our web apps as well. So if customers wants to connect to web apps or we want to include some new functionality, and so on and so forth. So even here, I'm still mostly integrations.
Yeah, no, I understand. So you work with all the range of, actually, you don't work only with the products that we provide, with the web apps, that integration of our web apps and our standard functionalities into the Dynamics, but also with the other providers. So imagine that the customer has already a payroll provider they're happy with, they want to integrate that with the Microsoft Dynamics, and you help make that integration happen successfully.
That is precisely one of my roles right now, yes. So a customer has a specific payroll system, and they wanted a real-time interface between Dynamics F&O and this system. So any change in Dynamics has to be reflected nearly immediately in their payroll system. So it was quite an interesting challenge. It was very fun to work with these real-time things. They're also more complex, so they have some more headaches. But I don't just work between the FourVision web apps and Dynamics. So before I came here, there wasn't a FourVision web app, so I had to work with many different systems. At one point, we had a crazy project which had Dynamics and around 24 other systems surrounding it. So it was
24.
It was quite a challenge.
So you basically had to go into each other application and see how they could connect together. Were they having different languages between themselves?
Everything was completely different. We had file-based ones who would take a file once a day. We had ones that you had to do API requests automatically. We had someone who would want the whole data, someone who would want only what changed from last day, and so on and so forth. Everyone would have different formats. But at the end of the day, you still start from Dynamics. So you have to build a system that is dynamic enough to react to all these changes without getting too complex. It was a very interesting solution that we came up with.
Awesome. That's a great insight, great example. And that actually leads me to the next question. Of course, you have a lot of experience with Dynamics. What would you say is like the main benefit of that system is that it's open enough that you can integrate not everything, but a lot of things that it allows partners to come in and build those integrations. I don't know. To tell us a bit, what do you think it's the main benefit? Because you have a lot of experience and clearly you like it. Otherwise, I guess you would switch up to another system because this doesn't work. So what do you have to say there?
So, well, the question, now the answer to that question depends on which, Microsoft Dynamics products we're talking about. If we're talking F&O, you have much more vast answer. If we're talking HR, not so much, but it will change in the coming months.
Yeah.
So for F&O, you have quite a lot of flexibility nowadays. You have the option to use the usual data management. So you have your big bulk files. You import thousands of records, and it does the job for you. It's good for when you have that amount of data. It's not great for real time transactions though, because it's made to handle batch processes for thousands and millions of records.
Okay.
And for a long time that was the most you could do. But then Microsoft included a lot of new options, more exciting options. Now we have OData, which we can send single request and we get an instant reply. Is this good? Is this not? Can I react to what Dynamics is telling me? Oh, I have something wrong. I can fix it immediately and I try again. And that was a good addition. And now Microsoft have added business events functionality, so you can react to stuff from happening inside Dynamics, and it will be reflected outside, which is a good feature because the OData I mentioned before is just someone has to start the request and tell Dynamics or Dynamics. This is the other way around. Now someone can be working on Dynamics and this can trigger an event outside, which is basically what you need for real-time communication. You have the option to send something and get an instant request, and now you have to send option to send something without even doing a request for it. So it allows you to build different kind of systems, which at the end of the day make more sense for the customer because they don't have to wait anymore. They see the results instantly, which is someone when you're working with HR, you don't want to keep people waiting. You want the people to know what's going to happen as soon as possible, and you don't want your system to stop you from doing that. Of
course. Yeah, that's very interesting. So from what you were saying, actually, Microsoft did work. They work towards getting the system a bit more complex, but also a bit more open as well in flexibility and making it available to integrate other solutions better to make it a more complete system.
Correct. And of course, when we're talking about this, we must touch on Dataverse, which is obviously then the next big thing. So Microsoft have built this Dataverse concept, which will link all their dynamic systems into one pool. So all the data goes in there. F&O has a lot of functionality to synchronize data to and from the Dataverse. You have other Dynamics products like CE and CRM, which run natively on it. So updates are instant and real time. And it's also coming up with new features. And so we have their Power Platform, which is also built on Dataverse. And it allows you to even connect direct to social media and those kind of interactions. So you can filter out and you can expose whatever you want, even through social media, and get answers there from people and ingest them directly into Dataverse. So there's a lot of stuff that can be done to Dataverse. And now you can also get that into Dynamics. So there's a lot of possibilities.
So now I get why you say Dataverse is like the next big thing or a big thing indeed, because it allows all that. Common Data Service was the
previous name for
the
Dataverse,
previous one, the previous name, but it was not doing the same thing, or was it more limited?
It was to a sense, in that it just didn't have the features yet. I think the goal was always for it to become like this, hence the name Common Data Service. Microsoft wanted something to be the common data service for all its products.
Yeah.
But now it's no longer just that. There's a whole framework built on it where where it will integrate with all these different devices, endpoints, social media, anything. So it can collect all the data from everywhere, and then you process it in one place. And it's easier when you have all the visibility in the same place. You don't have to go through many systems to see what's going on.
I see. So if people don't know anything about the Dataverse, could you compare it to something like AWS from Amazon or something like that, or not? It's not really the same thing. Maybe it's a stupid question, but you're here.
It's. I would compare AWS to Azure, for example. It's the same thing. Okay. Dataverse is something which is, as the name implies, it's just data. So it's there to handle the data that your systems use and to react on it. So what happens if this data changes? What happens if I get a request through Dataverse from social media? Someone sends a message. We can pull the data from there. We know that this person has spoken to us before because we have these logs, and so on and so forth. So it's there to help you manage your data and to react efficiently to it, rather than building, the complex tech services. Then.
Okay. Now I got it. Let's go maybe a level deeper, because of course you are experienced with integrations. You work a lot with that, and I also know that when you already mentioned when you came in, there were no web apps. You were having these projects with full of integrations. So, if you go a level deeper, how does this works in practice? What is the potential that Microsoft has in its integrations and extensibility that maybe other tools don't have? It's because it's not a closed loop system. It's because it's completely flexible and allows for everyone to join and work together with that main tool. What is your opinion about that? And what is your technical view on that?
So if I take this, for example, from an F&O perspective, it's a bit closed loop now compared to what it was before. Obviously, okay. Microsoft has its reasons, because it makes updates safer and easier, because you don't risk breaking client's code every time you do an update. So Microsoft obviously didn't want that.
Or maybe data breaches as well, something like that, or not. It's not the case in that sense.
Not the case, because most of it's managed by Microsoft. So yes, you can potentially put customizations which can expose your data feed if you do something carelessly, but it can still be done. So it's up to developers to be careful when it comes to this. Mm-hmm. But even still, it's still a bit closed loop. You still have a lot of options, and as I mentioned before, the business events were a very good addition. So you can react to nearly any change in data happening inside Dynamics that you care about, and you want to highlight this in your target system. Mm-hmm. Say, for example, something changed. You have an employee, some of his data was changed in Dynamics, and you want that to be available instantly in external systems. Without business events, this wasn't possible to do in real time. You had to wait for a batch process daily to pick up your employees' data and send it across.
Okay.
So it's a great improvement to what it was before. The connection with Dataverse allows for the same thing. So when Dynamics is you can build the same thing in a different way. So when Dynamics is synchronizing with Dataverse, you can check to see if any data was changed, and you can run triggers based off that. And the synchronization process happens all the time. It's constant. So it's very near real time as well. We're talking like a few seconds delay maybe, which is negligible.
Okay. Would you say that other tools in the market, that could be in the same level as Microsoft? Of course, we know SAP and all that. But do you think they do the same kind of thing? Of course, you mostly worked with Microsoft, but if you compare it, do you think Microsoft has a bit more flexibility, or just not too big, so it's simpler to do the integrations? What is your feel about that?
So that's, I think, the whole idea behind Dataverse. So Microsoft is trying to build a system where it's easier to react to this kind of data and to build integrations around it.
Okay.
So F&O as itself, it's quite a niche system. It has its own kind of development stack, and you have to learn it to be able to work with it. Dataverse is much more relaxed and much more simple and intuitive to use. Obviously, Dynamics gives you more power if you know how to harness it and how to use it. But sometimes that's not always the case. Sometimes you just want to prototype something quickly and say, okay, I have this data. Maybe if this and this changes, I can use this and I can give customers, a better view on how their employees are handled. And sometimes doing it with Dataverse to try it out, it's much faster than building a whole system inside Dynamics.
Okay. All right. Cool. I think that was clear. So, looking at your work, working in development for these types of tools, my first question regarding that is, what do you think are the main challenges that you face? They're more technical indeed. They are more like code based because you cannot figure out exactly why is this breaking? Why is it not? Or is like the types of requests that sometimes are just out of bounds, or so the tool doesn't do this. So why are we having these requests from a customer? Because it should be explained that the tool doesn't work like that. Tell me a bit about the challenges on your day-to-day work.
So I've had a couple of those in the past where either something was promised to a customer that didn't make technical sense when you actually look at it and try to build it. It happens quite often, to be honest, and it teaches you how to speak and how to portray things so that you don't give the wrong assumptions.
Yes,
it's a tough challenge, especially for me, who's a developer and not used at being at the front end. But that was one of the challenges initially, and sometimes you try to work around it and you say, okay, maybe I didn't think of that, but it does make sense to try to approach it that way. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's not possible, and you just have to see how you're going to reject it. It doesn't happen so often here at FourVision now, because I'm mostly working on internal products. So the things that I usually get is, because we're working with newer technologies, they're changing all the time. And sometimes, you read up on something, it's new, it's supposed to work this way, and it doesn't. And you're stumped because it's supposed to be good, and it's not. And then you have to read more, to waste some time, and after a lot of headaches, figure it out, and you write it down so the next person doesn't run into the same problems as you.
Yeah, no, I get it. And do you mostly work on new stuff, on new functionalities that we are creating? Most of your requests come actually from customers. They come from Microsoft itself, or from our own development team when we want to build something new, some new functionality within an app. Of course, Edward told us last week you work with sprints and all that. Of course, it's very natural in your area. But where are these requests coming from mostly? It's directly from the customers, or you also have it from the Microsoft community and that kind of stuff?
So I'm mostly working on one client project right now, and the internal stuff. So the client projects, yes, they come from the client themselves.
Yep.
We've had our requirements, but when you see it in practice and you start testing, you start to learn that these things maybe were not as I thought they would be. So then we do some small changes here and there. But right now, most of the time, the requests come from our development team themselves. So I have chats with Edward, and then he'll give me some tasks, and he'll tell me like, we're thinking of doing this, and this, and then I look into that. Okay.
What do you like the most? Those internal requests, or fixing someone, some client's problem?
Oh no, the internal requests, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess you are more of a back office, back end guy indeed. So, but I have to say that you're doing pretty well here. So maybe you should relate more to customers. I don't know. You're speaking really really well, giving us good insights.
No, it's more about that. As I said, that from a purely technical perspective, it's the stuff that we do internally is more technically engaging and exciting for me. It's not just this because it's a customer project or not. That's really all there is.
Okay. That's clear. That's clear. Understood. Okay, last question for you. I understand, of course, you work in development. So you work already in functionalities and those kinds of things that are coming in the future already. So I'm not gonna say like what are the HR trends you see? Like we ask a lot of people coming from this HR area, but in terms of technical, opportunities, developments that you see in the Microsoft world, is there anything that piques your attention that you're excited about? Things that might come even in the near future that you think will be important for this technology, specifically for HR technology?
Well, yes, as I mentioned before, the whole real time thing is quite a big deal right now, because you don't if you're in HR, for example, you're hiring candidates, you don't want to keep them waiting. The faster and the easier to have your data available and you can reply to someone, even if unfortunately it's a rejection, it's good to let them know and not spend weeks just because your business process is holding you back and because your system is holding you back at the end of the day. So these kinds of real-time things will allow customers to work with their data and move it across systems faster than what they're used to before, when they have to wait overnight for the data to be updated and then can work on it the next day. You maybe forget what you were doing and you skip some things. So this will hopefully help you to steer in that direction. And it's something that our web apps are now starting to look towards as well. So I'm quite excited to be working on those.
So more speed, more power to the customer, more flexibility, and more efficiency, which is, I think, the most important thing.
That's the most important part at the end of the day.
Perfect. All right, Matthew, this was great. Thank you. I think you shared great insights. I hope the people listening enjoyed. Did you enjoy it as well?
Yes, I did actually. Thank you very much.
Good. That's great. Now go enjoy the sun in Malta. And for the people listening out there, thank you so much for being here. And we'll see you on the next episode.